Chapter 6, Wakefield's Shadow. January 6, 1930, St. Louis. I found Wakefield's name buried in a ledger meant to stay buried. That meant one of two things. Either he was running scared and someone slipped up, or he was running the whole damn show. Either way, I needed to find him before someone found me. The British consulate in St. Louis was a brick building with tall windows and polite secrets. The receptionist looked like she'd been trained to smile through artillery fire. "I'm here to see Charles Wakefield," I said, flashing the last badge I had that hadn't expired. She paused, blinked twice, then said, "I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Wakefield hasn't worked here since 1925. "Then maybe you can tell me where he does work." "I'm afraid that information isn't public." I leaned in, low enough that only she could hear me. 3 men are dead. All of them served with Wakefield on the Prince's detail in 1924. If he's in town and something happens to me, your name goes in the report too. She didn't blink that time. She handed me a slip of paper from under the desk. It read, "Weller Arms Hotel, room 412. I didn't say thank you. The Weller Arms was the kind of place where the bellhops carried more secrets than suitcases. I tipped the kid at the front desk and walked the stairs instead of taking the lift. Old habits die hard. 4th floor, room 412. I knocked once, silence, then a voice. "Who's asking?" "Scism." A pause. Then the click of a bolt. The door opened 2 inches. Wakefield looked older, gaunter. His hair was thinner, but the eyes were the same, sharp and dangerous. "Patrick," he said, "you should have stayed buried." "You too," I said, "but here we are." He opened the door the rest of the way. Inside, maps, pins, photographs, a rotary phone with a wire cut. He'd been watching someone, maybe me, maybe all of us. "I know about Operation Harrow," I said. He didn't flinch. "It was never supposed to come to this," he replied, "but they never stopped watching. The Crown didn't forget, the Nazis didn't forget, and now the Americans are learning they're pawns on a board that's already been flipped twice." "Why the deaths?" I asked. "Why now?" "Because someone kept a second ledger, and now both sides want it destroyed before it leaks." He pointed to a box under the bed. I opened it. Inside, photos of the Prince with men in suits bearing swastikas on their lapels. Documents stamped, "Confidential, British Intelligence," and a list of names. Mine was underlined. Where did this come from? Wakefield looked at me like a man with nothing left to lose. "I stole it. In 1924. I thought it would protect us. I was wrong. You're the reason they're dead." "No," he said. "I'm the reason you're not." Then the window shattered. Gunfire, glass, the sound of history trying to erase itself. Wakefield dropped behind the desk. I pulled my pistol and returned fire through the window. Someone screamed. Tires peeled. Silence fell. Wakefield was bleeding. "You need to go," he rasped. "Take the box. Finish it." I grabbed it and ran. Down 4 flights. Out into the January dark. Somewhere behind me, the war was catching up again. But this time, I had the one thing no one else did. Chapter 7, Into the Smoke. January 7th, 1930, St. Louis. I didn't go back to the office. That bug in the wall had told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't just being followed, I was being hunted. And the only reason I was still breathing was because they hadn't figured out where I'd run. So I didn't stop running. I spent the night in a basement apartment beneath a shuttered bar in Soulard. The air smelled like mold and spilled bourbon, but it was quiet. And I could think. The box Wakefield gave me was still sealed shut, double-latched, British style. Took a screwdriver and a crowbar to open. Inside was a file marked "For King and Country, do not disseminate." I read through it with a flashlight and the last cigarette I had left. There were photos, documents, orders. But what stood out was a page in Wakefield's handwriting. It read, "Operation Harrow is not the end, it's the cover. The real goal is suppression, not justice, not order, just silence." The Prince met with Nazi sympathizers in 1924. That meeting was witnessed, recorded, and buried by request of His Majesty's office. Anyone connected to that day is expendable. There it was, the why. We were loose threads, and somebody high up didn't want the past pulled back into daylight. I left the file open and picked up the phone in the corner. It wasn't safe, but I had no other option. I dialed the one number I still had memorized, Sharon Portwood. She answered after 2 rings. "Sharon, it's Patrick. You're still in Kansas City?" "Yes," she said, voice quiet. "I haven't moved. Stay there. Don't speak to anyone. And whatever you do, don't come back to St. Louis. They're still cleaning house." "Did you find who did it?" "I found the reason. That's worse." She was quiet for a moment. "Then what now?" "Now I give them what they're afraid of," I said. "Now I make noise." I hung up and started typing. Old typewriter. New truths. I wrote up a summary of everything I'd seen, signed it with my name, and made 2 copies. One went in a safety deposit box under the name Charles Wakefield. The other went in the mail. Destination, the St. Louis Evening Star. If I was going down, I wasn't going alone. And if they wanted silence, they were going to have to kill the last man in the room. Chapter 8, The Editor's Desk. January 8th, 1930, St. Louis. The St. Louis Evening Star building sat on the edge of Market Street, 5 stories of stone and ambition. In daylight, it printed sports scores and theater listings, but behind locked doors and under dim lights, it sometimes did something more dangerous. It told the truth. I waited across the street that morning, coat collar high, smoke curling from a fresh cigarette. I dropped the file into their overnight submissions box just after midnight. The real question was, what would they do with it? At 7:30, the editor came in. Martin Keene, a war correspondent turned city paper man. I'd met him once, years back, when he needed confirmation on a Navy death notice. He looked like a man always halfway between a lie and a deadline. I waited until the street cleared, then crossed and stepped inside. The receptionist didn't even look up as I passed. I knew where I was going. 3rd floor. Office with a window that rattled when the streetcar passed. Keene's desk was buried under 3 stacks of newsprint and a half-empty bottle of rye. He looked up as I entered, then back down at the paper in his hand. My envelope. "You know what this is?" he asked. "I wrote it," I said. He didn't move, just stared at me like he was trying to see how far down the rabbit hole went. "This is big," he said. "It's true." "That's worse." He stood, walked to the door and locked it. "Tell me everything." So I did. From the moment the Prince of Wales stepped off the train in 24, to the photographs in Wakefield's file, to the 3 bodies pulled from the river last week. I gave him the names, the places, the conversations. I left out the parts I couldn't prove. But not many. When I finished, he didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "You know, if I run this, they'll come after me." "If you don't," I said, "they'll come after everyone else." He rubbed his face. "Give me until tomorrow. If it checks out, I print it. If it doesn't, you'll never see me again," I said. He nodded. I turned to go. "Oh," he said, "one more thing. That name, Wakefield, he's not the only one who mailed something in this week." I froze. "What do you mean?" Keene pulled another envelope from his drawer, handwriting I didn't recognize, postmarked Baltimore. Inside, a copy of the same photograph I'd seen in Wakefield's box. Only this one had a note scrawled in the margin. "You missed one." Welcome to Scism Detective Agency stories, where the fog is thick, the coffee's black, and danger is always a step behind. Step into the smoke-filled alleys and shadowed train yards of 1920s America, where every case begins with a whisper and ends with a bang. This channel brings you original noir audio dramas, serialized mystery stories, and voice-over narratives steeped in grit, espionage, and betrayal. Follow former United States Navy intelligence officer Patrick Scism as he uncovers dark secrets in the heartland of the American Empire. Whether you're here for old-school detective tales or period-accurate historical thrillers, you're in the right place. Like what you hear? Hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a case file. Drop a comment to tell us which mystery has you hooked or who you think did it. Coming soon, join the agency on Patreon. Want more stories, exclusive case files, behind-the-scenes content, and early access to new episodes? Our Patreon page is launching soon. Help support independent storytelling and get inducted into the inner circle. The cases are open. The city never sleeps. And you're on the list. Welcome to the Scism Detective Agency.